And we're live for another wonderful episode. It is 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The best part of my day, hopefully the best part of many people's days. We have a wonderful show planned. I have all my windows set up. I got my chat popped out. Hit me with them questions because we're going to have a lot of content flying at you today. Today's episode is not sponsored by the Blocknet. Oop, wrong finger. There we go. And that's how we're doing things now. Take a look at this nice intro graphic. I'm getting a kick out of this tech, having some fun with it. Welcome, welcome everyone. And here's the new screen. Block that bottom right. Yes, I love it. Okay, so up on the screen, we have my Twitter notifications feed, and this thing is pretty hot lately. Lots of good feedback, lots of good commentary. And as always, I like to have fun with the Twitter account. We didn't have a poll as we usually do for the live streams because I had a topic that I wanted to cover. Today, we're going to talk about decentralized exchanges, which everyone has thought about historically. There is a big history to this type of technology and concept. It's been floating around since obviously the last mega bull run, 2016, 2017, ICO craze, the good old days, and it is overwhelmingly becoming hot nowadays too, just not with the phrase and verbiage of DEX. People are hot on the viral terminology of DeFi. But DeFi, in many regards, is a decentralized exchange. It is the capacity to facilitate swaps between assets, and that is essentially what the DEX provides. Absolutely fascinating. Let's take a look at the comments real quick. James is in the house. My man Franz is in the house. How long can SNX pump? I don't want to get too sidetracked. I have a lot of content to cover today, but oh my God, look at SNX. SNX is like a rocket ship going straight up. Absolutely incredible what has gone on. I remember seeing it at 70, 80 cents, and obviously it was down in the 20s and 30s maybe a year ago. I myself established a position, I believe, at 75 cents. It hit $2.30 today. Ooh! Recurring revenue streams, obviously a topic I've covered to a great extent. It's hundreds of percent at this point. Absolutely incredible. All right. So decentralized exchanges, as I said, go back many years at this point. I remember Blocknet talking about the first tests of atomic swaps, and that was just the turning point, the tip of the iceberg, the beginning of a long trend to not, I don't want to say fight the centralization of exchanges, but in some regards it is. It's not a war, but and they will exist. Uh, in harmony to some degree, but there's negatives to the centralization of exchanges, which is the whole point of crypto technology to decentralize functionality. There's something not humanitarian, but uh, uh, technologically superior, no doubt, and I'll just leave it at that. When something is not controlled by a particular entity, in many regards, that's freedom, where the masses have control and no one person has control. Profound concept. Look what's going on here. I don't want to talk too much about smart contract wallets, but this just shows you the explosion of the ecosystem. And what I really like is the liquidity pool platforms, and obviously the interoperability platforms like Ren. And SNX fits in there. It's just derivatives platform. Absolutely profound technology. Uh, John's in the house. Made it. What's up? Did you bite or just nibble? Sup? Michael says, explain Blocknet like you would to a grandmother. Yes, it's my pleasure. I'm getting to it. I want to talk a little bit about the status quo and the viral terminology floating around and how it relates to what was started in 2016, 2017. So this DeFi stuff is, in many regards, a variation, a form of a decentralized exchange, particularly liquidity pools, not necessarily the lending and borrowing component. Um, but this entire DeFi craze that's going on is on the Ethereum platform. So it's ERC20s and was it the 721s? But point being, it's isolated to the Ethereum ecosystem, and this was never the well, this wasn't the case back in 2016, 2017. It was predominantly uh, the decentralized exchange interest was across UTXO chain. Ethereum was in its infancy. I mean, we just had ICOs back then, which had no functional use case whatsoever. In many regards, they were equity raises, which was a controversial period in time for the crypto space. So nowadays, these platforms have intense, extreme functionality. Then the concept of liquidity is available on the Ethereum platform, and we need to bridge the gap. And projects like Ren over here have that capacity. Um, look at this. Look at this wonderful DEXs section. Kyber, 1 inch, Balancer, Bancor, Loopring, 0x, Uniswap, Curve's killing it, and IDEX is obviously an Ethereum DEX in a browser, but it's not incredibly decentralized because you still have to make a deposit. You're not retaining control of the asset on your individual hardware. Quick comments. Pottering in the garage, my man. You do say that. Yes, sir. Welcome. You speak of DeFi yield as amazing, which it is, but I'd love to hear the cons and risks. Yes, we'll talk about that in another video. There are risks. There are no cons. Flat out, period. It is the search for yield is alive and well in the DeFi space. The search for yield is dead in the legacy financial system. Yield is everything. It's the fundamental component of a functional financial system. And that is it. 0.1%, 0.01% in a bank account, 0.65% on a 10-year treasury. Insane uncertainty and risk associated with REITs because they're not an equity in the that they have to pay out the vast majority of their income to the shareholders, but they're still an equity. They're traded on the historic exchanges. Therefore, they're susceptible to the insanity of what's going on with the Treasury's printing press. James says should be 23 likes already. Don't be lazy. Smash them likes, but like buttons. Let's get them subscribers too. That'd be nice. Look what's going on DeFi Pulse. 1.64 billion locked up in um, Ethereum smart contract platforms. It slowed down a little bit. We obviously had the DeFi craze about a week or two ago. Absolutely incredible growth. I'm not even going to pull up Ren at this point because we all know what's going on with Ren. The amount of value locked, the AUM, assets under management, is just a wonderfully growing number, and the volume is just incredible. Check this out. So Ethereum DEX is at about $1.5 billion per month. And look at the red one, the dark red one. That's a very interesting one because that is Curve. And the Curve does not have impermanent loss. It's the first exchange to not have impermanent losses because they are equivalent value tokens and they have an optimized curve to support a minimized slippage. And because they're equivalent value tokens, the impermanent losses are relatively trivial. And this is where Bancor V2 comes in. So this is absolutely fascinating what's about to play out in the next couple months. 1.5 billion. Look at this growth. Can you imagine if the UTXO space got into this? And this is where I want to head with this video. What is going on in UTXO land? Blocknet, absolutely incredible. This project dates back in the day. As I said, I remember the original Atomic Swap tweets, and it's come a long way to the point where there is a beautiful, incredible user interface that has wrapped those original Atomic Swap tweets into a functional, aesthetic platform. So adoption aside, the technology here is incredible. I'll preface probably a vast majority of this talk with um, look what's going on in DeFi. It's not trading. It's swapping. It's I have this, I want to get this. How much am I going to get? I don't care about order books. So I think that's the case, and I'll get to that towards the conclusion of the video. I think that is what the DeFi craze has proven, that the vast majority of users have no business trading and they don't have an interest in trading. Trading requires skill, expertise, and experience. And what people really want to do is swap. JellySwap. Hi. Tommy says, "Hey, I come from the Blocknet community. Someone posted your podcast to me. I'm here to show some support. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it. Blocknet is one of my faves. I've been a service node operator for a long time at this point. Blocknet is a diversified protocol. Obviously, it has X router, X cloud, and the bridge. Block DX, Block DX exchange. So we'll skip X cloud for now, which is basically an Oracle service. Blocknet is the only Oracle built in UTXO using UTXO technology. So the router is a decentralized SPV infrastructure, which facilitates any, let's say a website has a server that hosts, all the fancy JavaScript code and HTML that produces the user interface, but on that server could be a Blocknet daemon that the website can interact with. And the Blocknet daemon facilitates access to the decentralized service node network, which provides Sybil resistant SPV technology, which is means websites can interact with any UTXO daemon that is configured in the network of service nodes. So yeah, that's incredible. And this is a fundamental component that will play a critical piece to the puzzle of UTXO blockchains being consumed in the DeFi space as the DeFi space expands way past just the Ethereum ecosystem. Look at that beautiful decentralized exchange they built. Absolutely incredible because they're all, I'm inclined to think everyone on the team has jobs, and Blocknet is obviously incentivized with the super blocks, but it has that digibyte feel. The people working on the technology have had a long-term vested interest because they love it. They love what they're building, and they see what it is going to be in the coming years and if not decades. StakeNet has also been a long time in development. Um, it's caught the eye of many people over the years. It runs on Lightning Network, and it has Raiden integration, which is these boys have obviously a diversified set of products as well. Um, it is proof of is it does it have a is it a hybrid? I don't know, but it's proof of stake, so it has master nodes. Um, Interestingly enough, if we go to cloud real quick, do I have mine set up? I think I set mine up. Monitoring. Yeah, so I've had a StakeNet Masternode for a long time now. Look at that. That's interesting. I give you some nice statistics. Over the years, I've generated 3,276 StakeNet XSN uh, assets. Pretty cool. It's nice to see this type of presentation. And look, this is obviously not their core product. These are ancillary uh, pieces to their technological offering. Look at this beautiful website they have. Um, don't undervalue the simple things. Sometimes the simple things may, are very meaningful. What does an UTXO Oracle mean for the layman? Aside from a technological perspective, because that's an entire conversation unto itself, Chainlink is the 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 leader in the Oracle space. It's a smart contract platform. It's just look at the scale and scope of what Chainlink is doing, and Blocknet provides that kind of functionality from the UTXO space. The Blocknet's in the house. Whoa! Honored. I'm always honored when I get the privilege to be in the same space as brains, smartest people in the room. I could not do what has been developed, and it is impressive to say the least. And I am always humbled to be in the presence of brilliant brains. Welcome and thank you. StakeNet has POS and trustless POS. So POS, Blocknet is also proof of stake at this point. It used to have masternodes, now it's just proof of stake. Um, Masternodes are interesting. Historically, they were provided or coined by Dash, and they were an incentivized, dedicated node, and um, oh, to incentivized to be always online and always provide information. And Blocknet turned that into more than just a node that was supposed to be online. They started integrating functionality and kind of you could call it like second layer functionality. Um, and that's the power of it. It's really a server deployment. And if you start baking in additional puzzle pieces to this dedicated incentivized server deployment, you start to see pretty much what Ren created as well. It's a virtual machine of sorts that provides functionality to the network. Charging clients and stakes locked up funds is interesting. XIO is about selling goods and stakes. Interesting. It's something for me to think about. I don't want to digress too much in the stream currently. Blocknet, lol, right back at you. I'm not as smart as so many people, but it's a privilege to be able to put the puzzle pieces together, and I think that's what my favorite and most enjoyable skill set is. I'm an Android engineer for 11 years. Could build anything on the Android platform. You know you've been doing it a long time when you look at a user interface and you immediately see the code required to generate the user interface. Digression. StakeNet, these boys, Blocknet, StakeNet, Komodo, it's constant development. Nothing has stopped. Just because DeFi is hot right now doesn't mean anything has changed with these projects. It's been going like a steamroller this entire time for years. So these platforms are extremely advanced. StakeNet is incredibly diversified, and it is uh, using the Lightning Network and Raiden. That's an interesting offering. So at the end of the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these unique characteristics and attributes of these different projects together into a big picture. And as we put them together, it's not the individual projects that seem that they individually have excitement associated with them, but when you put them together, there's even more excitement. What we need is really these projects to start working together. And the last project on the list is quite interesting. What where it's heading. What else we got? This. Why did I bring up this? This was an article. Did I not open it? I'll put this in the comments for the live stream. Was this the article that I was thinking about? No, I don't remember why I stored this. Anyway, follow Komodo, follow Blocknet, follow StakeNet. Komodo, um, Komodo has a very long history. I don't remember the project it was before Komodo, but I remember the transition because I was a participant in the project it was before Komodo. Just don't remember it was that many years ago. So Komodo has side chains and they facilitate like literally an organization wanting to do their own deployment of an entire blockchain. So that's how diversified Komodo is. And clearly they facilitate atomic swaps. They have APIs. So I'm curious how that implementation is achieved. Um, which is fascinating, an open API. So how an API requires a server deploy, so there's centralization in that regard, but clearly. So anyway, I'm curious, and it's a big, profound concept that web developers, DApp developers, could integrate with APIs to facilitate atomic swaps and shared liquidity pools. And this is something that the next project is trying to build out. And and this is I wouldn't call it a liquidity pool because you're never sending your assets. You're always retaining your assets in your possession. It's more of a liquidity network that I'm looking for. Liquidity pool, obviously, for the Ethereum space because you're actually transmitting your assets and putting it into a pool. But the liquidity network, you have your assets in your wallet. The Light multi-wallet by Blocknet, or the wallet from StakeNet, which is pretty much a light multi-wallet in many regards, to my understanding, and you have your assets. But the network facilitates an AMM, an automated market maker, and registers the assets you have, finds people that are interested in making a trade, and facilitates that trade vis-a-vis the atomic swap process. A trade facilitated by software with no centralized authority in between. That is the profound future of this space. From Norway, my man, Kajel in the house. Welcome. It's a pleasure. It's a big planet. Love it. Colbro says, late to the party today. What'd I miss? Woo! A brief history. I'm kind of spinning out words really quick. I have about 10 minutes and I want to get through as much as possible. It is a lot of content. There is a long history. Andrew says, awesome stream. Hey, from the UK, and thanks for covering StakeNet's my pleasure. As I said, these projects have been going on for a long time, and they're not going anywhere. These are profound, fundamental components to emerging, burgeoning technology, disruptive systems. So Komodo has obviously FKMD, which is a cross-platform atomic swap, an atomic as they're calling it. Very cool. And this was in 2018. Blocknet has Ethereum support, to my understanding, and that is really where it is. The whole point of this is interoperability. I can envision a global network of I have this, I want this, I could exchange them, whether it's a damn ERC20, a 721, or a UTXO asset or Polkadot network or whatever network. That's the whole point. If we could have this seamless interoperability, this seamless swappability between assets, that changes everything. Thanks for your share on Komodo and StakeNet. Ooh, it's good stuff. StakeNet Vortex liquidity aggregator on the link above can pull liquidity from any exchange. See, look at these components. And the only thing missing from these components really is traction in most regards, relatively small market caps compared to the craziness that has come from the DeFi virality of the terminology. So the next project I think is heading overwhelmingly in the right direction. What we need is something that Jelly's working on. Um, Jelly, look at the user interface on Jelly. And this is kind of what the DeFi craze is. It's a consolidated web-based user interface. Heck, with React Native, you throw this into an Android and iOS application nowadays. And uh, this is what I see as the future. We don't exchanges, as I always say with regard to the potential for a project, you have to look at the target market for disruption and how susceptible it is to disruption. Uh, the target market for DEX is like a visual order book, and literally an exchange implementation is the centralized exchanges. How susceptible is Binance to disruption? How susceptible is whatever exchange to disruption? And I don't overwhelmingly see them disruptible in the short term. It's all about momentum. But look what has happened with the DeFi, D-app exchanges, so to speak. They're gaining so much traction. Look at this traction, 1.5 billion a month. And why? Because of this right here. If we look at 1inch real quick, look at this user interface. From, to, price to, you get a little slippage, but you know what you have and what you're going to get in one click of a button. And that is what I think really needs to come out for the UTXO, for these profound UTXO projects to really catch the wind of the DeFi craze. And that's not a bad thing. Don't fight the stream. Jump in and have a raft. Ride the coattails. Phrases like this. The momentum is profound. Momentum is everything. And if you could catch a portion of the momentum, it changes everything. And it could be such velocity associated with consumption and excitement and virality, merely with just a little bit of a branding change, a little bit of verbiage change as the functionality of different projects is talked about in social media. Jelly facilitates atomic swaps. It has server components that are deployable to provide liquidity to this user interface component, which is obviously a D app. I don't have their GitHub up at the. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Let's go through the pages though. Uh, so look at the Jelly presentation. They're obviously trying to catch the stream and the momentum of the DeFi craze, talking about interest rate, interest provided by transaction fees that are part of the swap process. Checking the comments real quick. Colbro says a lot of UK love for Noah's knowledge bombs. I try my best. Thank you. What do you get if you run a block node? You get service node fees that are completely configurable in the service node deployment. Now, obviously, it's there's it's important to probably keep those fees to a minimum at this point to encourage adoption. But as market share grows, you can bump the fees up. You know, it's not about fees, it's about volume, which is the exact same thing with REN. We don't want to bump the fees up to a quarter percent, a percent. We want to keep it at 0.1%. We want to keep it at 0.025% and quadruple the volume. Volume is everything. Look at this user interface that was just released, MACA, which is a 0x based DEX. Ethereum DEX, which is comparable to what 1inch has. And this is the type of user interface that I think is going to change everything. And I think this type of presentation has the potential, the most potential, to compete with centralized exchanges. Why? My theory, my opinion is the vast majority of persons interacting on centralized exchanges have no interest in trading. They're merely there to swap one token for another because they have a position and they want to get into a different position. But they have no idea what an order book is. They have no idea what a stop loss and a limit order is. They're probably trading at market prices. Those would be interesting metrics to see from a macro perspective, what kind of volumes are persons that are actually viable traders versus persons that are literally using an exchange, a trading exchange, to facilitate a swap process. In most regards, people, as I said, just care about what they have and what they want to have. They don't care how it's done, they want to just know how much value they're going to have. And that's what these DeFi exchanges do. Check out when you have time the GitHub repos. You can see activity, diversified set of projects that these projects are offering. Absolutely incredible progress and technological offerings. Blocknet's been around for ages, ages in crypto talk. Obviously, 4+ years. StakeNet, Komodo, and the Jelly. What are What are those? They have their. Is it the Butler? But the particular repo that has the software required to provide liquidity to the protocol is obviously one of these projects. Don't want to digress too much at the moment, but here, this is really where I want to end the program today. Um, Checking the comments real quick. When Blocknet app? When when block DX volume and adoption. I think we have to think as software engineers with regard to prioritization and what projects likely have the most traction. In most regards, I think a great pivot it would be meaningful at this point, and the DeFi hype is very important as an opportunity to really catch the wave, ride the wave like a surfer. It is not Don't think of it as succumbing to market pressures. It's an opportunity. That's just very much my personal and probably professional opinion at this point. You are stake your node, so answer trading fees plus staking words. Yes, my man. Recurring revenue streams. Caterpie in the house. Bossy, bossy. So take a look at this real quick. This is 1inch, which is pretty much what MACA is doing. Um, Behind the scenes, this is going through, it's aggregating liquidity sources. So this is what I want. This is really what I see is going to disrupt the crap out of the centralized exchanges. Look at the offerings and the sources of liquidity. You know what needs to be on here? Frickin' Blocknet, StakeNet, Komodo. That's what is needed. That would change everything. One place I have an asset. I want an asset. I could exchange the assets. Um, Aggregators. The aggregation of liquidity sources. I don't care whether it's UTXO. I don't care whether it's an ERC20 or 721. I have something. I want something. How the heck do I exchange it? This is how you disrupt the centralized exchanges, everybody, because the vast majority of persons, I firmly believe, are not on centralized exchanges to trade. Limit orders, stop losses. Oh, dare I get into the derivatives of how much money these kids are losing on those derivative exchanges with 100x leverage. They have no business being there. We need to promote sound financial strategy, the accumulation of yield-bearing assets, not the gambling for one-time wins. We're in the situation we're in financially as a planet because of leverage debt and gambling. What we need to promote is saving and accumulation and yield from a good source. And the source is exchange revenue. The source is from businesses sharing profits. That is yield, everybody. Service nodes earn 100% of fees from Xbridge, Xrouter, and Xcloud. Woo. All right, man. I've been a service node operator for a long time at this point, and it is just from a technological perspective, there is no reason to do anything other than operate a service node. MACA here at the end, yet again. Look, this even simplifies it further. This you're able to choose your liquidity sources, and 1inch does a wonderful thing with regard to their Chi gas token, which substantially drops the gas prices. I saw a $56 trade today turn into a $6 trade because I had Chi tokens. Oh, but look, you have access. So this is a little more techy that I think is really needed to disrupt the centralized exchanges. And look what MACA did. You have no options. It does it automatically behind the scenes, achieving the optimal balance of liquidity sources to produce the best possible trade. Simple. From, to, win, disrupt. I'll end this on one final thought. Find the target market for disruption and how susceptible is the target market to disruption. This right here, this interface is one of the nicest. Well, you have Uniswap, which is relatively simple. And let's pick up Kyber Swap real quick and take a look at the relatively simple. So 1inch is relatively techy. MACA is clearly one of the, it's brand new and it's one of the most beautiful. Let's take a look at Uniswap and Kyber Swap. So Kyber is simple from to. Very nice from to interface, and Uniswap is obviously very similar too. But what we need is the aggregation of these pools. This is obviously just Uniswap. This is obviously just KyberSwap. This is not just Uniswap or KyberSwap. This is not just Uniswap or KyberSwap. We need Blocknet up as one of these toggles. We need StakeNet up as one of these toggles, and we need Komodo up as one of these toggles. Ren is going to play an integral part in this process, obviously, and I don't want to digress in that. Obviously, Ren is much more suited for the lending and borrowing technologies, but we have the puzzle pieces, and that was the whole point of this video. We have the puzzle pieces. We just need to put them together. We could disrupt centralized exchanges. Decentralized exchanges are better for the people. There's no one entity in control. And as I posted yesterday, we're starting to see what is necessary to disrupt these centralized organizations, reach maturity, and we have functional puzzle pieces, and we just need to put them together. As always, I thank everyone for joining. Absolutely a joy of my day to spend time talking about these things that are on my mind, and I'm grateful that everyone that joins me has an interest in hearing me speak. I thank you again. Catch you next time. Peace.